Imagine a world on the brink of change. The year is 1914. Europe, brimming with empires and ambition, stumbles into the largest war the world had ever seen. From France to the Middle East, a generation is consumed by a conflict that redefined modern warfare. The Great War, later known as World War I, left millions dead and altered human history. For 4 years, the world watched as nations clashed in a brutal struggle. Empires crumbled, alliances shattered, and the old world order was swept away. This total war mobilized entire societies and left an indelible mark on the 20th century. The road to war was paved with a dangerous mix of nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and a series of entangled alliances. Europe's great powers, driven by a potent cocktail of national pride and imperial ambition, had been locked in a dangerous arms race for decades. Each nation sought to outdo the other, amassing vast armies and powerful weapons in a relentless pursuit of military superiority. Nationalism, a powerful force that emphasized national identity and unity, further fueled the flames of conflict. Across Europe, people felt a strong sense of loyalty to their nation-states, often viewing their own nation as superior to others. This fervent nationalism, coupled with the desire for self-determination, created an environment ripe for conflict. Imperialism, the pursuit of colonial empires, also played a significant role in the outbreak of war. European powers, hungry for resources and eager to expand their global influence, had long competed for colonies in Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world. These imperial rivalries created tensions and mistrust among the great powers, setting the stage for a wider conflict. Finally, a complex web of alliances entangled the nations of Europe in a dangerous game of diplomatic chess. These alliances, forged in the name of security and cooperation, ultimately served to escalate tensions and draw nations into the conflict. When war erupted in the Balkans, these alliances acted like tripwires, dragging one nation after another into the abyss. The Great War pitted two main alliances against each other. On one side stood the Central Powers, led by Germany and Austria-Hungary. Germany, with its powerful military and industrial might, was a formidable force on the battlefield. Austria-Hungary, a sprawling empire facing internal strife, sought to assert its dominance in the Balkans. Arrayed against them were the Allied powers, initially composed of France, Russia, and Great Britain. France, still smarting from its defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, sought to regain lost territory and prestige. Russia, a vast empire with a large but poorly equipped army, saw itself as a protector of Slavic peoples in the Balkans. Great Britain, with its global empire and powerful navy, joined the fray to maintain the balance of power in Europe and protect its interests. As the war progressed, other nations were drawn into the conflict. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty power, now in decline, joined the Central Powers, hoping to regain lost territory and stem the tide of nationalist movements within its borders. Italy, initially allied with Germany and Austria-Hungary, switched sides to join the Allied powers, enticed by promises of territorial gains. The United States, initially neutral, entered the war in 1917 on the side of the Allied powers. The sinking of American merchant ships by German U-boats, as well as the infamous Zimmermann telegram, in which Germany proposed an alliance with Mexico against the United States, galvanized American public opinion and led to America's entry into the war. The Great War was marked by brutal battles of attrition, with armies clashing for months for minimal gains. The Western Front, a 400-mile line of trenches, became synonymous with modern warfare's horrors. The Battle of the Somme epitomized this brutality, resulting in over 1 million casualties. Despite immense sacrifices, the Allies gained only a few miles. The Battle of Verdun, lasting nearly 10 months, saw 700,000 casualties. Verdun became a symbol of French resilience and war's futility. On the Eastern Front, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Russia clashed in brutal mobile battles. The Battle of Tannenberg was a decisive German victory, nearly destroying the Russian Second Army. So Section 5. A gruesome stalemate trench warfare. The Western Front was dominated by trench warfare, a new and terrifying form of combat. Soldiers on both sides dug into elaborate systems of trenches, protected by barbed wire, machine guns, and artillery. The trenches, often muddy and infested with rats and lice, offered little protection from the elements or the constant threat of enemy fire. Soldiers endured constant bombardment, sniper fire, and the ever-present threat of poison gas attacks. Attacks were often launched across no man's land, a desolate stretch of ground between the opposing trenches. These attacks, often preceded by massive artillery bombardments, resulted in heavy casualties and rarely achieved their objectives. The invention and use of new technologies such as machine guns, tanks, and poison gas only added to the horrors of trench warfare. Section 6. The guns fall silent. A fragile peace. By 1918, after years of brutal fighting and millions of casualties, the tide of war began to turn. The entry of the United States into the war in 1917, with its fresh troops and vast industrial resources, provided a much-needed boost to the Allied war effort. On the other hand, Germany, facing economic collapse and dwindling morale, was nearing exhaustion. In November 1918, after a series of Allied offensives shattered German defenses, Germany agreed to an armistice. The guns fell silent on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, marking the end of the Great War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war and imposed harsh penalties on Germany. Germany was forced to accept responsibility for the war, cede territory, pay massive reparations, and severely limit its military capabilities. The treaty, while intended to prevent future wars, sowed the seeds of resentment and instability that would contribute to the outbreak of World War II. Section 7. Scars of War, a World Transformed. The Great War had a profound impact on the world, leaving behind a legacy of political, social, and economic upheaval. The war shattered empires, redrew the map of Europe, and ushered in an era of uncertainty and change. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires, once dominant forces in Europe and the Middle East, collapsed under the weight of war and internal strife. New nations such as Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Poland emerged from the ashes of empire, but their creation did not guarantee stability. The war also had a profound impact on the social fabric of nations. Millions of women who had filled factory jobs and other essential roles during the war challenged traditional gender roles and demanded greater rights and opportunities. The war also led to the rise of new ideologies such as communism and fascism, which would shape the political landscape of the 20th century. Economically, the war left Europe devastated. Years of fighting had destroyed infrastructure, depleted treasuries, and disrupted trade. The massive reparations imposed on Germany crippled its economy and fueled resentment among its population. The war also led to the rise of the United States as a global power, as it emerged from the conflict relatively unscathed and with a strengthened economy. Section 8. A Legacy Etched in Stone. Remembering the Great War. The Great War was a watershed moment in human history, a conflict that shattered the illusion of progress and ushered in an era of unprecedented violence and uncertainty. The war left an indelible mark on the 20th century, shaping international relations, political ideologies, and social norms for decades to come. The war's legacy is complex and multifaceted. It is a story of courage and sacrifice, of technological innovation and military blunders, of political maneuvering and diplomatic failures. It is a story of immense loss and suffering, but also of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit. Today we remember the Great War not only for its horrors, but also for the lessons it teaches us about the fragility of peace, the dangers of nationalism and militarism, and the importance of international cooperation. The war stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the need to strive for peaceful solutions to international disputes. As we commemorate the centenary of the Great War, It is essential to remember the sacrifices of those who fought and died, to learn from the mistakes of the past, and to work towards a more peaceful and just world. The legacy of the Great War is a reminder that peace is not a given, but something that must be constantly nurtured and defended.